Ladies and gentlemen, brace yourselves. Alarming new information has just leaked from the White House, shedding some light on the potential for nationwide blackouts, grid down situation, and a cascade of very serious consequences that could very well affect every single American here. As the nation pushes forward with ambitious plans for renewable energy and electric vehicles, a critical shortage of copper, a metal that is essential for these green technologies, threatens to completely derail these efforts. So today, we're going to dive deep into the complex interplay between this energy policy, resource scarcity, and the very real risks that are being posed to the energy grid and our daily lives right now. This discussion is not just about politics or economics. It's about the immediate and the long-term impacts on our national security, our economic stability, and of course, our way of life. By the way, if you haven't already, please take a second, hit the like button for the video. I totally appreciate you guys, and I want to thank you guys so much for always subscribing to the channel for more truth and more news that really matters to us. Well, it's official, guys. The mining industry cannot unearth copper quickly enough to keep up with President Joe Biden's electric vehicle goals, according to this new study. Simon and Lawrence Cathles of Cornell University analyzed 120 years of global data from copper mining companies to determine just how much copper would actually be required for the country to transition to renewable energy. So the study found that the need would exceed what copper mines can produce at the current rate. Now, just to give you guys a number, according to the study, just to meet business as usual trends, 115% more copper must be mined in the next 30 years than has been mined historically until now. World-renowned hedge fund manager Pierre Andurand has even made the bold prediction that the price of this critical metal is set to quadruple to heights of $40,000 a ton over the next 4 years, largely thanks to the policies from the Biden administration. In fact, according to a recent GOP report, America's energy future, it's under threat right now from the Biden administration's policies that hinder the growth of domestic energy production and cause greater costs to Americans, according to a report. So the report's titled "The Biden Administration's Green New Deal: Paying More for a Dimmer Future." The report from the House Committee on Oversight and Responsibilities aims to show that the administration's energy policies have led to higher gas prices, uncertainty in America's power sector, confusion about new cars and appliances, and pricey regulatory hurdles that have increased costs for American consumers and for businesses. Well, looks like Biden may have gotten a little bit too excited with those green energy policies. Then again, there's former President Donald Trump offering his America First alternative to energy. Carolyn Levitt, National Press Secretary for the Trump campaign, said that President Biden is controlled by the environmental extremists who are trying to implement the most radical energy agenda in history. Trump, she said, is supported by people who share his vision of American energy dominance to protect our national security and also to bring down the cost of living for all Americans. What can I tell you guys? It's a tale of two energy policies, and it's about time that we find out which one's better. Now, a big part of today's discussion, the impact of these energy policies on copper demand, or basically how a green economy could mean a looming copper shortage for America. Check this out.
Wall Street basically thinks copper could play a huge role in two major trends: electric vehicles and decarbonization. At the same time, there's not enough copper getting mined from underground deposits or coming from scrapyards to feed the coming demand.
The industry cannot continue to do what it has previously, or else there really is going to be a severe copper shortage. As soon as all these big car companies start making more electric vehicles, it will happen like a light switch. We'll see that there's a copper shortage.
So the so-called shortage isn't the world running out of copper, it's more about the current mining and recycling infrastructure not being able to meet a potential boom in demand.
I would, on a longer-term cyclical view, think that this is actually a great opportunity to position oneself for a long-term copper bull market.
Yeah, I know. Street scrappers call it red gold. I've even watched some of them film themselves intercepting copper and other scrap metal destined for our landfills and sending it to the scrap metal recycler. And they're hiring, by the way. So basically, the streets need more scrappers, and America needs more copper. Now, like I said earlier, Simon and Lawrence Cathles of Cornell University, they analyzed 120 years of global data from copper mining companies to determine just how much copper would be required for the country to transition to renewable energy. energy. And they found out that the need would exceed what the copper mines can even produce at the current rate. To put it simply here, guys, the mining industry cannot unearth copper quickly enough to keep up with President Joe Biden's electric vehicle goals. As explained by researchers, a normal Honda Accord needs about 40 pounds of copper. The same battery electric powered Honda Accord needs almost 200 pounds of copper. So the amount of copper needed is essentially impossible for mining companies to even produce. Now, according to the study, just to kind of meet business as usual trends, 115% more copper must be mined in the next 30 years compared to how much has been mined historically until now. They say that to electrify the global fleet, it requires bringing into production 55% more new mines than would otherwise be needed. Not to mention, those EV stations, they cost Americans a lot of money. I know some EVs have even resorted to aluminum bus bars, copper plated, where they connect to real copper. I guess the industry already knows that it has to reduce its dependence on copper to protect themselves against price hikes. World-renowned hedge fund manager Pierre Andurand, he made the prediction that the price of this critical metal is set to quadruple to heights of $40,000 a ton over the next 4 years. This as we're moving towards a doubling of demand growth for copper due to the electrification of the world, including electric vehicles, solar panels, wind farms, but also military usage and data centers. Talk about a copper gold mine, right? Now, speaking of, I wanted to take a moment to discuss for a moment the company that is sponsoring today's video, and one that I believe can take advantage of these mega trends that we're discussing today that's being driven by government policy. I've had an opportunity to spend some time getting to know the CEO personally and the company that he's focused on building over the past decade, preparing to take advantage of these big shifts happening right now. Calinex's team has discovered and built some major high-grade copper mines in an area of Canada famed for its history of hosting these coveted mines. The team is in the process of doing it yet again at Calinex, having already outlined over 350 million pounds of copper in addition to gold, silver, and zinc. The company has attracted over $25 million Canadian in capital from some of the most respected institutional investors that specialize in investing in the natural resources sector. I find Calinex attractive for many of the same reasons that they do. Calinex has high-grade copper discoveries in a stable, mining-friendly Canada location close to a critical infrastructure, which will allow the company to advance the discoveries much more quickly. Calinex has plans to conduct an exciting drilling campaign this year, and I want to point out that it has a history of successful discoveries at their property, including Rainbow, Alchemist, and Descendant. These discoveries are rich in copper, gold, silver, and zinc. The goal in 2024 is to expand the various discoveries and resources of high-grade copper, gold, zinc that Calinex already has under its belt, and to hit the holes that prove beyond any shadow of a doubt that they've got something big. In July 2020, for example, the stock traded for just over $1 USD. By October, it doubled. In January 2021, it traded for $1.75, and in July 2021, it doubled again. In January 2023, it traded for $1.57. By July 2023, it doubled again. My point is that if Calinex mines make significant exploration results, its stock historically follows. So I urge you to research the company because they will be drilling this year. Copper and the rest of the metals, they're poised to continue to perform strong, and Calinex may be a compelling option to gain exposure to rising metal prices and the exciting business that they're building. I mean, regardless of where US energy will shift to in the next couple of years, demand for copper is here to stay. Because let me tell you guys, we're gonna need all the help that we can get thanks to what Biden's policies are doing to the American people and our energy future. The recent report from the House Committee on Oversight and Responsibility, it's certainly raising some serious concerns about the future of America's energy sector. They claim that policies from the Biden administration, they're stifling the growth of domestic energy production, which could mean higher costs for everyone. And it could get even worse than that. The report titled the Biden administration's Green New Deal, Paying More for a Dimmer Future, suggests that these policies are driving up gas prices, causing instability in the power sector, and introducing confusing regulations on new cars and appliances. Additionally, it argues that regulatory barriers are hiking up costs for both American consumers and for businesses. This 32-page document criticizes what it calls short-sighted energy policies of the current administration. It talks about how these policies could hamper the administration's own goals of increasing electrification due to challenges in permitting and new power generation infrastructure. The report also mentions that these major new regulations from the Biden administration, they could be smothering innovation and growth. House Oversight Committee Chair James Comer, he accused the Biden administration of using its power to attack domestic energy production and to enforce extreme energy policies that could threaten domestic energy development and just completely overload America's power grid. Comer highlighted that the committee's ongoing efforts to spotlight what he views as the administration's extreme climate policies vow to keep holding them accountable for their impact on Americans. This could lead to a nationwide blackout of severe proportion across the United States, all 50 states, folks. This is a national security concern. Now, one major part of this report also points out a very significant rise in gas prices since 2019, attributing it to increased production and transportation costs, as well as regulatory actions and supply issues that it claims are moves by the Biden administration to appease radical climate activists. It compares gas prices from the day after President Joe Biden took office to the record high gas prices following Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Basically, it shows a very sharp increase in gas prices during Biden's time. Former President Donald Trump, he wants to take us back. He does not want America to face a nationwide blackout, power outages, grid down scenarios. We can avoid all that. Now, according to Carolyn Leavitt, National Press Secretary for Trump campaign, Biden is controlled by environmental extremists who are trying to implement the most radical energy agenda in history. But Trump, she said, is supported by people who share his vision of American energy dominance to protect our national security and to bring down the cost of living for all Americans. Well, if this is going to help us to avoid a nationwide blackout, you got my vote. Donald Trump recently headlined a Texas fundraiser with some top energy executives coming in hot on the heels of his promises to cut back on their industry regulations. So the former President Donald Trump, he's eyeing a 2020 comeback, hasn't been shy at all about his plans to ramp up the oil and gas sectors, often rallying his base with the catchphrase, drill baby drill. He even tossed around the idea of acting as a dictator for a day to push these policies through. Now, just to be clear, this was during a town hall meeting in Iowa last December. When Sean Hannity of Fox News pressed him about wanting to be a dictator, Donald Trump responded with a lighthearted, no, that's just on day one. We'll close the border and keep on drilling. After that, he's all done with being a dictator. Well, that definitely sounds like a plan that Trump supporters can get behind. What do y'all think? I mean, the American people, they want energy independence and they want cheap prices. And Donald Trump's energy-focused agenda was a hallmark of his first term, very notably when he appointed Rex Tillerson, the former CEO of Exxon, as U.S. Secretary of State back in 2017. And for those of you guys who are wondering, whether this would actually bring a crash to copper prices, well, it won't. Because Donald Trump's push to boost oil and gas output, it's about more than just energy. It's ripple effects across the economy, touching even the copper industry. All right, so here's how it works. So first, there's infrastructure development. More oil and gas production usually means more infrastructure like pipelines and refineries, all of which require heaps and heaps of copper for things like wire and for plumbing. Then, of course, there's the economic growth side. Policies that rev up oil and gas industries, they can drive economic growth, especially in related fields. So this kind of growth, it boosts demand for copper as everything from construction to tech industries, it starts needing more of that particular metal. In other words, it looks like copper is going to be in demand no matter where our energy policy is going to lean in the coming administration. All right, guys, so that pretty much wraps up our deep dive in the shifting sands of U.S. energy policy and its ripple effects on the copper market and beyond. And we've seen it's not just about politics, it's about the very resources that power our lives and drive our economy. I think it's pretty clear, guys. Our future is interconnected with these critical decisions. I really hope that this discussion sparks your curiosity to learn more and perhaps make more informed decisions about where you invest your energy, literally and figuratively. Remember to hit the like button if you found this video insightful. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more thought-provoking content. Don't forget to hit me up in the comments too, by the way. I look forward to seeing you guys on the next one. Y'all take care.